So I'm Karyn Rossacci, and I'm the Chief Nursing Officer here at the Vista's Behavioral Health Centers. I think the holidays are a time full of joy, but a lot of stress. We strive for perfection. We want everything to be perfect. And in reality, when you get family and friends together and food and holidays, nothing's perfect. But we want it to be perfect. So I think that takes its toll on us with the planning and the perfectionism during that time of year. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, but I also think society and family puts a lot of pressure on us as well. There's lots of things we can do to try to avoid that. I think for me, preparation is key. I like to be prepared, plan ahead, and not wait till the last minute. I also think that we need to do a better job asking for help. I think in all facets of life, we don't ask for help as much as we need to. And the last thing is boundaries. For me, I know I've got multiple sets of parents and siblings that all want me to go to their house on the holiday, and it's really challenging to try to be every place at once. So by setting some boundaries on where you can go, what you can bring, what the expectations are, that can significantly reduce your stress. I think the first thing is self-care. We tend to, especially during the holiday season, we focus on everybody else and not ourselves. Usually we're the last person that we're thinking of. So I always say you can't pour from an empty cup. So you got to fill your cup before you can take care of others. So for me, self-care is different for everybody. So for me, I like to walk. That's my thing. I'm really big on sleep. I need my 7 to 8 or even 9 hours a night to function at my best capacity. But everything is different for everyone. So you need to find what works for you, whether that is asking for help, like I mentioned earlier, or just coming up with a game plan to get through those difficult holidays. But we always have to remember that we can't be our best selves if we're not taking care of ourselves before we engage in the holiday season. So there's lots of different things you can do. I know a lot of people are big into meditation. There's tons of free apps out there where you can download an app. It'll take you through, a quick 5-minute meditation. Some people like to read. Some people like to exercise. Exercise can really help you reduce your stress. It releases endorphins. It makes you feel better, more fulfilled. Also, avoiding alcohol is another big one. Alcohol, when you start to think about it, it can reduce your inhibitions and make you more relaxed, but in reality, it functions as a depressant, so it can make you more sad, anxious, and really impact your sleep in a negative way. Great. So I think the first thing is having a plan, knowing what you might be faced with, and start thinking through some of the things that you might encounter and how you might handle those. There's a lot of family pressure and peer pressure at the holidays to have drinks. A lot of people equate drinks with happiness, and that's really not what it's about, right? It's the social connection. So some of the things you can do is, it's really big now is mocktails, right? You're still engaging in the conversation, you're still having a nice drink without the alcohol. So that's a way that you can still feel like you're participating, but not having, alcohol. Another thing is finding a support system. Having a friend with you or a family member that also isn't drinking so that you're not set alone and set out to look like you're the only one that's not participating. And I think that if you're still in the stage where you're struggling to have those difficult conversations with people, sometimes it might be easier to avoid some of those bigger, outings where it might be hard to say no. But having a good support system in place and letting people know that you feel comfortable with what you're going through might make it easier, because then maybe they won't offer you a drink or push you, because I know that can be difficult for some people. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're going from place to place and you're not staying for longer periods of time, it's easier to kind of get out of those situations that you might find difficult, because you can say, oh, I've got to head out to my aunt's house. I really can't have a drink right now because I need to drive. I mean, there's other ways that you can get around it so that you still feel like you're included, but you're not offending anybody by saying no to participating. So I think it's important that we're always supportive. You know, some people would say it's easier to, have an alcohol-free holiday. But in reality, it's really not, because these individuals that are trying to improve their life and remain sober, they need to have these challenges. It's part of the recovery process. But I think knowing what they're struggling with and also providing them options, right, to still participate without feeling bad about not having alcohol can be really helpful to them. So, some of the things you can do is make, like a non-alcoholic punch and an alcoholic punch. It also lets other people, children, they still feel like they're a part of it, right? Because they still get to have the teenagers, they're still participating in it, but they're not having the alcohol. And also just not pressuring people too much. It's really hard during this time of year to focus on yourself and maintaining your sobriety, but also taking care of yourself. The whole part of this is self-care. These individuals are struggling with just kind of getting through day by day. Adding a holiday in could be an additional stressor. So anything that family and friends can do to kind of make it more calm, less, expectations, I think would make it a lot easier for them. I think new traditions are always a great idea because it does, over time, it does get kind of stale, right? If we're doing the same thing every year. And there are a lot of things that you can do to change it up. So there's different things. I know in my family, we don't drink a lot on the holidays. It's not a big thing for us. We spend more time, we like to watch sports, or we watch movies together, or we're starting to try to get into walking after Thanksgiving dinner. That's something we want to try this year, to walk off our meal, get some fresh air and things like that. So I don't think it always has to be sitting around a table together. It's finding some common interests and seeing what you can do together and having fun. That's what it's really all about. I think it'll take the stress away too, if there's maybe less cooking and less preparation, when you can just kind of be spontaneous and do something more fun. I think this is a great time of year to reflect, rely on your family and friends to be there as a support. Know that there's tons of help out there. I think that's the hardest part when you're struggling with mental health or, substance use. There is unfortunately a stigma. And we need to remember that there's lots of resources out there in our communities to help us. We just have to know when and where to ask for it. And we need to align ourselves with family and friends that are supportive as well, that are going to help us on that journey. So as we enter the holiday season, if you or a loved one are struggling with your mental health, the Vistas are here to support you. Please reach out and let one of our members of our team support you in any way we can.